Nobody wants to admit it, but fear is knocking on the door in the Emerald City, and it's not because of the 49ers. I'm Ethan Carter, and today the question is simple. What the hell is going on with the Seattle Seahawks? You've got Uchenna Nwosu drowning in physical uncertainty, Clowney knocking on the door smelling like a comeback, Kupp turning into a locker room professor and a star on the field, Cross going under the knife less than 2 months before the opener, and Micah Parsons being thrown around in some insane trade rumors. Is this a plan or just plain desperation? A bold strategy or controlled chaos? The answer could change everything, and it starts right now. You ready? All right, my fellow Seattle Seahawks fans, before we dive into the details this Friday with all the latest on our team, a quick favor from me to you. If you who follow the Seahawks Insider Report and you dig our analysis, haven't subscribed yet, please just smash that subscribe button. It's absolutely crucial for the channel and for our community of Seahawks fans to keep on growing. Thank you so much for the support. It means everything. Okay, let's just stare this thing right in the face. Would bringing back Jadeveon Clowney be an act of desperation or a stroke of genius? Because when your top edge rusher, Uchenna Nwosu, is spending more time in the medical tent than on the field, your options start to dry up, and they dry up fast. Nwosu, who's already missed 22 of the last 34 games, just had another knee surgery this offseason. What was supposed to be a simple cleanup procedure has turned into yet another question mark on the Seahawks medical map. And Mike Macdonald? No clear timeline. The season could kick off with Nwosu still warming a seat in the locker room, and with that, the shadow of Clowney is taking shape and gaining steam. According to ESPN's Brady Henderson, the veteran's name is getting real traction behind the scenes in Seattle, and it's not just because of some 2019 nostalgia when he had those infamous 3 sacks. It's because of the monster season he had in 2023 playing for who? Mike Macdonald in Baltimore. We're talking 9.5 sacks, an elite PFF grade against the run, and a perfect fit in our new head coach's system. Coincidence? I doubt it. It's almost like the coach already left the request on his clipboard. And before someone puts up the "but he's old" sign, just hold on. Clowney is 32, yes, but he's been alternating good and bad seasons since 2020. And if that seesaw logic holds up, 2025 is supposed to be a good year. Add to that the fact that Seattle has money to burn, over $34 million in cap space, and Clowney's market value is estimated at up to $11 million AWANs. The equation starts to make sense. Now, if Clowney's arrival means taking minutes away from a promising young guy like Derek Hall, the math changes. Then, the question becomes something else entirely. Is it worth sacrificing the future for an uncertain present? The veteran fan has seen this movie before. We've seen players return to the Emerald City on name alone, only to deliver nothing but frustration. But Clowney in this case isn't just a name. It's recent history, a favorable system, and a context of urgent need. He might not be the permanent solution, but maybe he's the best we've got at the moment. And if you think this story is already heating up, just wait for the next one, because we have a Super Bowl champion trading his beard for leadership and dominating the Hawks locker room without even playing an official snap yet. Can you guess who it is? Believe it or not, one of the most recognizable faces in the NFL showed up in Seattle with a whole new look. Literally. Cooper Kupp shaved his beard. The Viking beard, a symbol of wars won in Los Angeles, has become a cleaner, rejuvenated, and symbolic look. Because the Kupp who came to the Seahawks didn't just come to run routes. He came to mark his territory, to influence, and to transform. He's no longer the undisputed WR1. He's not the wunderkind. Now, he's the mentor, the champion, the behind-the-scenes strategist. And if anyone out there still thinks that's an exaggeration, you need to hear what he said on the first day of training camp in pads. Kupp spoke like a veteran professor. He talked about adaptation, mistakes, resilience, the offensive system, and the psychological weight of becoming a role model for the younger guys. And the younger guys on this Seahawks team are everywhere, especially on offense. Jackson Smith-Njigba, for example, is entering his 3rd year. He's got talent, sure, but experience? Coop is there to fill that void, and to do it without taking his eyes off the end zone. The message is clear. This isn't just about developing players. It's about accelerating the process, shaping mindsets, building a winning culture. Coop knows what it takes to get to the Super Bowl. He was the MVP of one, and when he talks, even the coaches listen. That carries weight. And if the beard is gone, maybe it's just a reminder that the past is behind him and that the focus now is on rewriting a new story in blue and green. And before anyone asks, yes, he can still play. Even coming off a season marked by injuries, Kupp is healthy. And what's more, he's hungry. He said it himself that he can't wait to build a rapport with Sam Darnold, with whom he's already had some interesting flashes in the past. And if that connection works, Seattle gets one of the most underrated pairs in the league. Want another reason to get excited? The calendar gives them time. We're weeks away from the real start of the season. That gives Kupp a valuable window to sharpen his timing, master the playbook, and show that the old Cooper still knows how to decide games. Because nobody here signed him just for the beard or the resume. He came to deliver, and everything suggests he will. But while Kupp is building his new identity on offense, a key piece of the offensive line is being rebuilt with a scalpel, anesthesia, and a whole lot of urgency. Charles Cross went under the knife and the countdown to his return has already begun. But what if he doesn't come back in time? Can you imagine starting the season against the San Francisco 49ers without your starting left tackle? Well, that's the exact nightmare hanging over the Seahawks facility right now. Charles Cross, the only solid pillar of an offensive line that was already looking shaky, underwent surgery on his hand. More specifically, a dislocated ring finger. Yep, that same finger he tried to practice with during the first week of camp, defying the pain and all logic. But the medical team won out over his stubbornness. And now, the hope is that he'll be back before September 7th, when Seattle faces our division rival in the season opener. Mike McDonald said it was a strategic decision, a short-term sacrifice to avoid a chronic problem. The window is tight, but possible, between the last preseason game on August 23rd against the Packers and the kickoff against the 49ers. Until then, the responsibility falls on Josh Jones, the veteran swing tackle, who'll be covering Darnold's blind side temporarily. Nothing against Jones. He's experienced, reliable, but he's not Charles Cross. And when you're talking about containing Nick Bosa and company, almost reliable isn't good enough. On the other side, Mike Gerald, the young kid drafted from Findlay last year, steps in as the second backup. Gerald actually showed some potential at RT in 2024, but being thrown to the left side against one of the most aggressive defenses in the NFL is just asking to burn him out, and maybe burn out our quarterbacks too. What this surgery exposes isn't just the physical risk, it's the limited depth of an O-line that already inspires zero confidence and is now depending on a surgical recovery going perfectly according to schedule. If Cross misses the opener or comes back still limited, the Seahawks offense will start the season completely off balance. It doesn't matter if you have a healthy Kupp, an evolving JSN, or an inspired Darnold if the blind side is vulnerable. The most worrying part is that, for now, the franchise seems to be betting more on hope than on reinforcements. And you know how that usually ends. For the veteran fan, this sounds like an echo of the years when Russell Wilson was getting hit more than he was talking. And if the pattern repeats itself, patience is going to run out real fast in the Pacific Northwest. Now, if you think the situation is already tense enough, take a deep breath, because some people are talking about bringing none other than Micah Parsons to Seattle. A real trade, a pipe dream, or a move worthy of the glory years of the Legion of Boom. This next page turn is about to blow some minds. You laughed when you heard it, and that's okay. I doubted it too. But what if the idea of seeing Micah Parsons in Seattle isn't so absurd after all? The rumor came from Matthew Schmidt at Sports Illustrated, and it's far from just some off-season fantasy. The argument? Simple. The Seahawks need a defensive difference maker, and Parsons is that. The difference maker. The quarterback's nightmare. The type of player who changes a game with one play and a franchise with one season. And what would Seattle offer in return? According to Schmidt, a bold but strategic proposal, a first-round pick, plus a second or third, and a young pass rusher like Derek Hall or Boy Mayfield. Hall is still under contract until 2026, but he's been inconsistent so far. Mayfield is coming off a solid season, but he's entering the last year of his contract. In other words, his trade value is high, but there's a risk of losing him for nothing in 2026. The equation starts to make sense, especially if the other side of the scale is Micah Parsons. But why would the Cowboys give up a generational talent? For cap space, for contract fatigue, for fear of losing him with no return. Parsons is frustrated. He wants a giant contract. Dallas is dragging its feet, and the threat of a franchise tag and all that drama is looming. We've seen this script in other franchises, and it always ends in a trade or a breakup. Now think about it. Parsons alongside DeMarcus Lawrence, his former teammate, finding that chemistry again in a different uniform. It doesn't sound so crazy anymore, does it? The Seahawks defense would gain an identity, an explosion, instant respect. It would be like activating Legion of Boom version 2.0, not in style, but in impact. And what's stopping this from happening? The cost. Not just in picks, but the contract. Micah wants and will demand quarterback money. We're talking something in the neighborhood of $30 million a year. It's heavy, but what if he's the piece that's missing for Seattle to get back to competing for a Super Bowl? What if he's the name that turns promise into results? It's a gamble, yes. But maybe it's better than trusting guys who live in the medical tent or young players who still haven't proven anything against elite offenses. And let's be honest, the veteran fans remember well the last time we bet big. In 2013, when nobody believed in the group Pete Carroll was building. And at the end of that year, the trophy came home. The question is, do you prefer a slow, lukewarm reconstruction or a swing for the fences that could put you back on top? Because the truth is just this. After everything we've seen today, you can feel it in the air. Something bigger is being built in Seattle. But are we evolving or are we just masking our holes? Clowney asking for a comeback, Cup taking over the soul of the locker room, Cross going under the knife with fire in his eyes to get back soon, and now Parsons on the radar. These aren't isolated facts. They're symptoms of a Seahawks team that refuses to be mediocre. We're seeing a team that seems to finally understand young talent without leadership doesn't win a Super Bowl, and too much patience turns into stagnation. The question isn't if we have the pieces, it's if we have the guts. Is the rebuild over, or did they just change its name? Comment below, you guys. Is this the beginning of an era, or just another illusion dressed up as hope?